Good afternoon. Welcome to BYJU'S exam prep. Welcome to this MICAT specific essay writing class, descriptive writing class. You can see me and hear me clearly. Please give me a thumbs up so that I know you can see and hear me clearly. Then we start the class. So as you know, MICAT has a descriptive writing section and many students get daunted by it because it's a set of 4 questions. Let us first look at what the test looked like. We'll have 2 sessions on this. Today I will tell you there are different approaches. I'll tell you the easiest, most common approach to writing essays, where you have to express an opinion for and against the topic and give your views, and also a picture writing test. And next class we will also discuss some questions. Today we'll discuss one topic. Next class we may discuss more topics. Is that clear? All right. As you know, it is the descriptive writing section. There are no negative markings obviously in a descriptive writing section, but there are obviously marks on it. 25 marks for a 4 question section. So what is the first question? The first 3 questions are based on one question on an argument, where they generally, the first question, they give you a statement and ask write 3 or 5 arguments in favor of the statement, and they give you around space for an essay of 250 words. Second question, write 3 or 5 points against the topic. Again, 200 or 250 words, space is given. Third question, what is your view? You will say, right, A, B, C, this is 1 point, this is 1 point, this is 1 point. Finally, they'll ask you, what is your view? So here, remember, you have to take a firm stand. You can't hedge here and say, well, sometimes I believe A is correct, B is correct. So in fact, in the question many times, this is the feedback I've got from students, that in the question many times they say, if you're writing for in support of a topic and then after that you add something against the topic, marks will not be given to you. So read the question carefully and answer exactly what the question is asking. Question 4 is a picture story based on a set of pictures. So they give you 4 pictures and they'll tell you the pictures are labeled 1, 2, 3, 4 or ABCD. First, they'll ask you to have a sequence. You can make your own sequence for the picture and have a story which is relevant to that picture. All right. So that is what the test looks like. All right. Next question, how do you really support and oppose an argument? Remember, you have to do it. You remember in critical reasoning, in verbal logic, we have strong and weak arguments, right? On what basis do you call an argument strong? An argument, sorry, let me get this. An argument is strong if it is relevant to the question asked. Uh, should should mercy killing be allowed in Indian hospitals? Should doctors be allowed to go on a strike? All right. Or doctors should be allowed to go on a strike. That would be a statement. So if you are giving 5 points supporting and you are asked to give 5 points of 3 or 5. 3 is obviously easier than 5. Normally, I found for today's topic, my points died out at number 4. So you'll first 3 points would be very strong. The next 2 you can just cook up some points if you can't think of anything. I hope you can. Is that it should be relevant to the question asked. You shouldn't blabber about something. You shouldn't write some nonsense. So it should be relevant to the question asked. Second, you should give a logical reason for a particular point. And if you can, that would be lovely. Support it with examples or data if you have any related to the topic. Then the argument is really, really strong. Reason and example have to substantiate an argument for it to be strong. And you are expected to write at least 3 strong arguments in favor of a topic and 3 points against. If they ask you 5, try to make it 5. Clear? Okay. Next, let's look at one topic that was asked for the first 3 questions. Environment is more important than development. Present 5 arguments in support of this statement. What are the 5 arguments you will give in support of the statement that yes, climate, the environment, the air around us, the water, the earth, all of which we are polluting like anything, is more important. The health of the environment is the basis of development. What is the meaning of development when you don't have an earth to live on, when you don't have water to drink, when you don't have clear air to breathe? What development are you talking about? Every development is based on the environment. We exploit the environment for development. So environment is the basis of development. So keep your environment clean and healthy for development to happen. What is the second reason you can give? That it is the pace of development that harms the environment. So look for the kind of development that is what is called sustainable development, which doesn't really cause irrevocable harm to the environment, so that you can hello Harshit, so that you can um, have development without harming the environment. Third depends on what you mean by development. Development does not mean destruction. Right now, whenever we're talking of development, it is essentially destruction of the environment. People have lived on earth for ages and they've done well. It's only in the last 100, 200 years that we've done so much damage. So you talk about that. Fourth and five, of course, would become a little weaker than in support or against the topic. Okay, so this would be one of. Now we've got the outline. You need to build it into an essay. Now, most students ask me one question. Should I give my answers in bullet points? If you give your answer in bullet points, can you sustain yourself for 250 words? You can't. So I assume it's a free flowing essay. Now in that, because MICAT hasn't given us feedback on the structure of the essay, but I can tell you one thing. Even if you are giving it in a free flowing essay, it can look as clear and lucid as an essay with bullet points if you write one of the most strongest arguments, or the first argument in support of the environment is. Secondly, third paragraph, third reason for the environment being superior to development is. Another reason becomes your fourth reason, right? Another, okay, fifth reason, summing up, and then you put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reasons for supporting environment in the fight between which is more important, environment or development. Got it? Next one, present 5 arguments against this statement where you're saying no, development is more important than environment. Every government you elect, on what basis are you electing the government? To get rid of poverty in our country, at least in a developing country like us. Can government eliminate poverty without an agenda of development? Second, in a country like India, where population and the density of population is so high, right? Can we really protect the environment without taking away from the comfort? And so when you have to provide food, education, a decent standard of living and housing to such a large population, you have to develop. And in that pursuit of development, yes, environment gets uh, damaged if not destroyed. The third one, industrialization essentially means something that goes against the environment because it's not a natural process, it's a man made process. You want more electricity, you want atomic energy, you want you don't want to be dependent on the monsoon, so you build a dam. All this in the name of development are all man-made actions, not natural actions, because you want to take away the unpredictability of nature. You want to be in control of your life. And if man wants to be in control of his life, then man has to play with the natural processes. And in the process of playing with the natural processes, you are playing with the environment, and you're playing, in other words, you're harming the environment. But can you have a population which is living in, so imagine a country which cannot provide food for its people, if it doesn't in a if it cannot protect its population against the cold or extreme heat because it doesn't have energy. Clean energy, you're talking about clean energy, is expensive, and we have so much of natural resources. You want to use those natural resources. Here comes the question of intelligent use of natural resources can make development possible. So in the end, you will be talking about sustainable development. As I said, could come up with 4 reasons for each. I couldn't come up with a fifth. But I did come across a very good article where you can get very nice points both for and against. I'll read it to you. All right. Now, the third question is where you have to give your own views in about 200 words in response to a request from a leading newspaper. So basically, your essay should look like a hard-hitting article in a newspaper. Now, here you have to say, I believe that is what the article I have given would read again, would read like, where you I at least personally obviously have more points for saying that the environment is more important than development. So I would tell you how by harming environment we are not just harming, we are harming ourselves in the long term. So if you want long-term development, you have to accept that environment is more important than short-term development. Development will go hand in hand with environment, provided you do it the right way. That would be my main point. So my essay would be that yes, environment is more important than development. We have to take the right kind of development, develop slowly, by using the natural resources but not overusing them or exploiting them to the point that the environment is damaged, right? So that would be my main point. Hello, Vatan. So that is what you need to write. So this 200-250 word essay, that would be a third essay, would be your own view, but you have to take a clear stand on the issue. Let's just read a Hindu article that I came across. There were many articles on environment and development. There were legal articles on our right to a clean environment, at the same time, our right to a certain standard of living. And there have been cases, if you read articles on this. So, what I've done is I've taken some of the main points given in that article in the Hindu, where he says, conserving the environment is of course important, but as a developing nation, so he has spoken about it from the point of view of India, we have to use our natural resources to develop. Almost 30% of the country's 1.2 billion people are living in poverty. They don't have basic needs, housing, electricity, clean water, food. So none of their basic necessities are met. So government has come to power with a mandate to help these people, and it cannot meet these development challenges. It's a huge challenge, that is development. So for the government, priority becomes development. It says, I have been elected to power on the basis the public has given me a mandate to rule so that I can improve their lot. And I have to do everything that I can to improve their lot. Therefore, the government faces a huge dilemma. All right, next. Then this is, therefore you say that development is more important and you explain why. Now here there was an article that I read about Canada. The Montreal region is a very Montreal region of Canada. They are very environmentally conscious. They're aggressively environmentally conscious. Now, Canada is a federal setup. You have different states. Now, the Quebec region doesn't allow other states to lay oil pipelines to carry oil across their state. So, the states which are surrounding Montreal, the Quebec region, don't get or can't get oil from any other region because this is in the middle and it refuses to allow an oil pipeline to go through it because trees have to be cut. Now, those regions are facing severe cold and energy crisis. The oil-rich state is on this side. What do you do? In Canada, they say you cannot even cut. So, which is why Canada at least has so much forest cover. The only disaster there is natural fires. Wildfires occurred, destroying forests. You cannot cut a well grown tree like an apple tree, even if it's in your own garden, unless you have the government's permission, and the government will not give you permission to cut a tree. Now, a fully grown tree, its roots go deep into the soil. So, some houses, and most of the houses there, are constructed out of wood, correct? And so they say that if we want to even expand our house, we can't do it because there's part of it, there is roots underneath the ground. We can't do anything. So what do you do? For oil supply, roadways is okay, but supply. And then they will say too much motoring. What I'm saying is laying a pipeline is cheaper, but they won't allow. I mean, it's not like they don't allow blanket, there is no ban, but it has taken some 25 years or something, some statistics. I'm not good with numbers. They said for that one pipeline to go from the Alberta region of Canada, which is oil rich, to some other region, Quebec is sitting in the middle. It says, no, no oil pipelines in my state. That's what happens. On the other hand, of course, we need it. Jimmy Carter in 1975, President of America, refused to let certain parts of Alaska be dug up for oil exploration or any kind of research. He said, no, these are pristine, pure forests. Let them remain so. The moment we put our hands in it, it's gone. It's easy for us to say that, but when you want electricity, when you're dying and freezing in the cold, what do? You cut the same trees for firewood, right? So it becomes a humanitarian challenge, and for a country like India where we have a high population and a heavy density of population, what do you do? So that's the eternal dilemma, and MICAT chose this question for the students last year. I mean, I really think there's so much to do, but then you have different arguments. You have to just put those arguments in order. The strongest would be the first three, and the other two would be like the debate points that you come up with in any debate competition, or when you write an essay and you just want to elongate it. All right. Look at this. Why is the environment important? And I found this point so very uh, clear. I mean, it's so natural. It's normal. Anybody can realize this. This is no brainer. Humanity, the world over, depends on natural capital. It is the basis of all other forms of capital. So, the moment you're talking of growth and development, you are talking of growth and development along with forests, rivers, crops, land, the basis of life on this planet, the ecosystem. Without that, without the environment, you won't have a life to talk. Why are you talking about development? All right. So we depend on our environment for regulating our climate, for regulating rainfall, for purification of water, for water recycling, nitrogen cycling, all this. The moment you damage the environment, all these processes are gone wonky, just like what we are experiencing right now. These natural systems, which were protecting human, plant, and animal lives for generations, are now breaking down. And then the article gives you in what way are they breaking down. They talked of grasslands, natural grasslands in India, and they said the British used to call it wastelands. But actually, geologists say that they are very important for water cycles. But when we are doing planting trees and building houses there, what is happening is we are contributing to soil erosion. In our need to have more electricity, steel, aluminium, and others, we are eating into the hilly regions of India, and as a result, we are not having enough water. And as somebody said, wars, interstate conflict, international conflicts will be on the basis of water. There was a James Bond movie made on it, and we thought it's ridiculous. But yes, they said that water will be the cause of the next world war, because we are destroying the planet. We are getting rid of the natural water cycle. This is not meant to sound alarmist. We will not be there, but we are being very unfair to the generations that are going to follow us. He's given two examples. One is the food system and pollinators. You know that bees have become endangered. Why? Because genetically, we have genetically modified crops managed. These genetically modified crops cannot support bees. Bees are dying out. Then we are rearing artificial uh, uh, bees. We are rearing bees artificially. We are trying to import bees from here and there so that our crops get pollinated. Our natural crops are getting pollinated, but they cannot live on genetically modified plants, so they do not have any suitable habitat. So with the dying out of bees, we are going to lose a lot of natural crops and plants. That is number one. Have you ever heard of the term the diclofenac vulture? Vultures are natural, what do they call them, like you have rag pickers. Vultures are natural scavengers. They get rid of carcasses and they eat them clean, unlike dogs and jackals and all, who are known to do a messy job of it. Vultures pick a dead body clean. Now, because of people and livestock, mostly livestock, not people, are given a lot of painkillers, which has a high amount of this cheap anti-inflammatory chemical called diclofenac. Vultures have died when they fed on carcasses which have a lot of diclofenac in them. And the lack of vultures meant natural scavenging isn't happening. Diseases, feral dogs, wild dog population has gone up, and rabies and pollution has increased. Small thing. Medicines that you're taking has got rid of vultures. You all know, of course, we can't see sparrows anymore, right? So now, those are points for the environment. Again, he says, if you're an urban Indian, you'll say, yes, but we need to develop. You can't do without development. And here the author gives a fantastic argument for the kind of development. Yes, exactly. Vultures help in. So he has given two examples. One is bees, one is vultures. The Hindu editorial. So that would be the example that we would give on the importance of maintaining the ecosystem. The point where your essay takes on more importance, and this is where the editorial or an editor can only think of these, is that he has taken India specific case. So you can make your essay a little more India specific, that yes, the Western nations have developed. So generally, when India goes to these conferences on carbon footprints and zero emissions, Indians' argument is, you have exploited all your natural resources. We are sitting on a wealth of natural resources. Why are you stopping us? We will, of course, go for clean energy, but we also need to use the abundant coal and oil that we have. Right? That's the argument that developing countries give. What the author is saying is that we cannot follow the standard trajectory of other developed nations, because we have a huge population. So we need creative solutions. And second, the density of population in India is very high. So Western model of development is not suited to the Indian model of development. We need enough food and water, but the Western model of development will not allow us to supply our population with sufficient food and water. Second, it says the developed nations have been extravagant, have been greedy in their use of resources. They have lived beyond their means. They have overused energy. They have overused everything. There is a lot of wastage. So Western idea of conserving energy doesn't work for India. So what India needs is its own idea, its own method of development which would help its population. One thing it's saying, because of our increasing, the biggest problem that we have is our population is rising at an alarming rate. We need at least 33% forest cover. Where will this growing population live? So you need to give space. Right now we are eating into forest space, and we have about 20% of natural forest, which itself is the reason for many of our environmental problems. Here he says, many who are in a democracy say that democracy means equality. Equality means some kind of development which has to reach the entire population. So you have to supply the basic needs. Many Indians are not getting the basic needs. The Hindu article said that our model of development is not working for 93% of the population. Find a model of development which will work for the poorest sections. Right now, the model of development that India is following, it is calling it corporatization. It says it's become so commercial that it is only serving the top 7% of the population. Find a sustainable model of development which will work for the entire population, which will be aimed at the poorest sections of India that is in need of development. The development that we are talking about, the large corporations, the big businesses, are not catering to the actual people who need. And what are we doing? We are depriving them of land, food, and water for development, which is not essential for survival. So, what your argument finally comes up with, that we need a sustainable model of development, not based on expanding levels of consumption and consumerism. The Western model is based on consumption and consumerism. While what India needs is a sustainable development model where you do not damage, you use your natural resources, do not overuse them, so that you improve the lives of the people without damaging the environment. Okay, so this conclusion has to be in your third essay. The first one in support, 3 points, nice ones. Two, somehow you have to drag and give two more. But make sure you mention. Doesn't matter if the quality of the point is not that good. If they've asked for 5 arguments, make sure you give 5. 3 can be really strong and nice. The other 2 can be a little weak. But what happens is, when we are looking at finally when they give you marks, right? If you have 5 nicely developed points, they look at the first 3 and know that these are your strong points, but they also know the question has asked for 5. So he or she has attempted to rack his or her brains and come up with 2 points. Even if they are not that strong, this makes sense. Sometimes there have been years when they've asked only 3 questions, 3 arguments, which I think makes sense. All right. So that is what you need to take. But then the non-CAT classes that we are taking has MICAT as well, like word association and all we have in our uh, non-CAT courses that we have. On YT, we are doing regular like vocabulary and grammar and RC and logic classes. So MyCat specific we may not have, but that would be. The reason I took this is there was a demand for this. Lot of students said, I don't know what to write. So this is for people who say, I don't know what to write. You can write. Out of the 250 words, 150 to 200 easily ho jayega. After that, you have to struggle a bit and come up with 2 more points. Now, this is last year's sample paper. They gave 4 points, right? So first, like para jumbles, you you have to write a 350 word story. Now this is testing your creativity. This is testing your ability to associate. Nene, 250, the space that is given to you is 250 words, Vatan. So 25 minutes, 4 questions. So look at it as 6 minutes each. Okay. Now assume this creativity will take you 7 minutes. Okay. 25. So keep it as 24. 6, 7, and 6. Okay. 6 minutes you can easily write. 1 minute for a paragraph, let's just say. So, but my only point is don't put it like this. I at least do not like it. I do not know really whether MICAT what is it, but generally we tell students free flowing essays look good, but in that free flowing essay, make sure that you mention it's very clear to the examiner. This is the first point. Second paragraph, second point. Third paragraph, third point. Fourth paragraph, fourth point. Fifth point, and conclusion would be the last one. Clear? So here, quickly look at this. This is an elephant, an African elephant, and here you can see the background also shows it's Africa. This one shows a train, an overcrowded train, two people hanging on the footbridge. Here you see a beautiful, beautiful place, a tree, a road with trees lining on the side. And here you have ballet dancers around the Christmas tree. All right. Doesn't matter if it's 20 words per minute, Vatan. If you want, you can, like I said, let's say the the for and against points you write in bullet points. All right. Then your essay, 200, 250 words, you can write in 10 minutes. Yes or no? Oh, yeah. If the same thing, if you can put in bullet points, would be put in paragraphs instead of bullet points. That's also done. Instead of numbering it, if you put it in paragraphs, 250 is the maximum that page allows, by the way, not more than that. Same here. Provide about 350 words space to write. Doesn't mean you're expected to write 350, not more than 350. Doesn't mean you're expected to write exactly 300 or 350. Whatever you can do, divide it to 5 minutes each, right? Or 6 minutes each, and then you're done. The creativity answer will take longer than the uh, for and against arguments. So here, what are you going to talk about? So how do you write this? I've again kept it. Study the pictures carefully. Here I have an African elephant. Here this is an overcrowded train. Is it India? Is this, can you think of 4 continents here? Europe, Canada, Americas, Asia, Africa. You can write something on the difference in development, the developing world. You can write something on that. Or do you want to talk about something else? So study the picture carefully and have a logic. It's part of only one story that you're writing. Your story can be about a person who lived in Africa, who actually was taking care, or the son of a forest officer, or son of somebody who used to take care of elephants or something, how he dreamt of doing something else. One day runs away from home, takes this train with no money on his back, and goes away. All right, then goes somewhere, works for a living, somehow saves enough, takes a flight to the US, or goes the illegal immigrant way, goes to the US or Canada, spends time there, does very well, and blah blah. This is how what he does. What I'm saying is any story where you relate to this, or you can talk of somebody who lived here. This could be the first story, lived in the lap of luxury, Okay, a girl lived in the lap of luxury in France, was a ballet instructor. She wanted to see the world with the money that she had earned. How she, so these two you relate to the part of her affluence, and then how she sees how the other side of the world lives and gets totally changes. She's converted, and how she works for the conservation of wildlife in Africa eventually. But you have to, every picture has to be part of the story. How do you relate to that? The first picture. So in picture, normally we tell you, first describe. Okay, in the first picture is the people, okay, in the story. What is the setting in the story? What is the theme? Finally, the people, the setting, the theme, you explain. And is there a message finally that your story gives? That is the structure. So in the introduction, what are you going to say? This is the story of a young girl who lived in Africa. So you give the flow of the order of my picture is D C B A, and then you write the story. So the examiner would say, oh, D lived in the lap of luxury, went to America where she made a fortune, then she befriended somebody and decided to travel the world, and then she saw how people can't get the basic, how they don't have any means of transport. They go in overcrowded trains, hanging on the footbridge, which is a hazard to their life always, blah blah blah, whatever. Finally, when she goes there, she decides to spend the rest of her life in Africa, and how she works for developing the country, especially the uh, animals. The African elephant works for the cause of the African elephant. Something like that. The key is not how well can you relate the picture and build a story. That is what they are looking at, nothing else. Okay, so describe what this picture means to you, and then you can write. So what this picture means to you, and then you can write. But there has to be a theme. So always remember, one is study the pictures carefully and think of an order. All right. Then think of the no Ron, there are many others. All right, there are many others too. There is Vatan, there is Harshit, there are lots of you. All right, and a lot of people watch later and send me comments saying, what about this? So that's the other one. At one, lot of people don't watch. So the last WAT class that happened when I did it for CAT, I was a little disappointed because the answers that I got were only one sentence from one student. Later, I saw there were so many views, and then people have asked doubts, and they asked for a MICAT specific essay writing session. So even if they're not watching it live, they watch it later. That's okay. All right. Uh, but this is on the app too, Ron. It's going both on YT and the app. A lot of our paid students watch it as well. Go on the app and watch it. The quality is also better. All right, so remember, study the pictures carefully, think of a logical order, come up with a story and think of a message. Then structure your theme into, remember, beginning, body, and very important in any TAT, thematic appreciation test, where they test your um, taking hoga wo, it won't be giving, it will be taking. All right, lot of students. Eventually, the MICAT takers are quite a few. MICAT is very different from other tests. And if you go once to their campus, you'll fall in love with it. All right, so structure it into a good intro. This is what I'm going to say at my intro. This is what I'm going to say then. This is how I'm going to end my story. Make sure the story has a clear message. Here we're talking of conservation of the planet, or animal rights, or protection of the African elephant and endangered animals, or you're talking of the human what do you call it, desire to improve their lot, to become better, to lead a better life. You can say any one of those things. Have that theme in mind, and then write a story. Use simple clear language. Make sure that the essay is descriptive narrative. It's description as well as narration. That should be your style. All right. Uh, the verbal ability section as such is similar to other sections. Last year, what happened is it was the couple of new different types. If you when you register for MICAT, you can just see the MICAT samples. They have what is called word association. So they would give you star, four words here, and then they would give you four more here. Okay, stardust, stargazing, sinister, and some other star. So you say which word would can combine with most on the uh, column to the right. Sometimes that will have 8 options. Last year the students found that difficult. Then you have para jumbles. Last year they had given some 8 options in the para jumble. Yes, when the always when the question paper is difficult, it's difficult for everybody. So the cutoffs are generally lower. Uh, Basically it's synonyms, antonyms, parajumbles, word association, but it tests your creativity. Every part it's more about your ability to pick. So the idioms will not be straightforward idioms. They'll give you body parts, and then they will give you idiom there, and they say the meanings of the idioms. Okay, you have to associate the body part with the idiom and say this is the meaning. Okay, so suppose, for example, yellow and cowardly, yellow bellied. So they will not either color or body part, belly, they will say. So belly to covered, yellow bellied means cowardly. Green, envy. Okay, so things like that. Green eyed means envious. So that kind of thing. Not no question is straightforward. That you have to think a little. That is why the cutoff is low. Okay, and here descriptive can be fun. So they're not testing anything. You don't have any. So how creative can you get? So you can just let yourself go. Don't be inhibited. And be very consistent in their psychometric tests. They have a psychometric test section, which is basically, so be very honest to yourself. Don't say they're judging me, positive, negative, kuch nahi. It's a psychometric test. Answer honestly, it will show consistency. What they are seeing in a psychometric test is consistency. Mark the answers that you're sure of. 8 last time tha, I'm not saying every time, and not all options have 8, not all questions have 8 options. And I generally tell students most of the answers will you can figure it out in the first 4 itself. All right, parajumbles and all turn out to be quite easy. In like that, you just work it out and then look at the options. So last year this was the problem, that they said there were 8 options. I'm just preparing you for it. Don't get upset or anything. Answer all questions with 4 options first. And generally, the first 4 options had the answer, even in the 8 option questions. So that way it was easy. And the wrong options were easy to eliminate, ridiculous options. So you knew that they won't work. So elimination became easy in questions which had 8 options. So always there is a silver lining. Look at that. All right. Yeah, MyCat 1 had 8 options. That's what I said. Most questions have 8 options, then it's easier to eliminate. Do a few, the questions that you know, do them properly. Don't guess there. And the others, do what you want. But the cutoffs will be low. All right. You have any doubts about our CAT College Predictor, any question about any of our courses, do uh, click on this link. All right. So some counselor will call you and talk to you and get all your doubts about our sessions, our courses, everything properly. There is a descriptive section. This is the descriptive section. The English section is MCQ, but as in vocabulary, synonyms, antonyms, this descriptive section essay is a separate section altogether, part of the main test only. So this descriptive section is 25 minutes. The English would be again separate. That in the descriptive section you have 4 questions. That is the one that I talked about. All right. So on the 25th, I think I have another session. on MICAT essay writing. We'll look at some other picture. Do read up about, write an essay on the reason. Okay, they may not ask the same topic, lot of students ask, and I say they may not give the same topic, but you've not written for a long time. Generally most students don't write, so get into the habit of practicing essays. Write on topics which on past year topics, so you can do better in the topics they give you this year. Last year, the topic was on environment and development. Write an essay, at least three. See how long you're taking. Practice on that. Next class, I'll give you another topic. Read up about it and think of topics where there is, both sides of the argument are very strong. Read those so that you can prepare. Last 3-4 years, my CAT topics, unearth them and uh, think of, write essays. Time yourself and see. All right. Uh, Vatan, today's essay, for example, today's points I picked up from the Hindu, the Guardian, Indian Express. Editorials are the best. The editorials will tell you, will discuss any issue from both sides. Times of India, I don't know, now it doesn't, but every Sunday it used to run a column called Perspectives and Counter Perspectives on any issue. Or a reservation, should there shouldn't be reservations for the economically backward sections. Reservation for women in parliament. Yes, there would be one person supporting it, one person opposing it. So look at topics which have two sides to it, or just read editorials of national newspapers. That is the best source of reading for essays. You don't have time for anything else. And frankly, all the so-called essay books and all, don't believe in it. Just read well-written articles, read editorials of newspapers, the Hindu, the Indian Express, Times of India. Read the editorials and you will know how to express your opinion on an issue. All right? Absolutely, absolutely. There was one, I took an RC class, an editorial analysis class last Tuesday or the Tuesday before that, where the essay, the editorials was on the Supreme Court ruling on the Bilkis Bano case, and the Hindu, the Asian Age, and Indian Express. All three papers had editorials on that, and they were very different from each other. They all hailed the Supreme Court ruling, but their views were different. Okay, so you have to read that. One was slightly reserved on the Supreme Court ruling, how they analyze the case, the pros and cons, so you can get a very good idea. All right. I'll see you again on Tuesday with the editorial analysis, and on 25th with the other session on my CAT. We also have a WAT session on essay writing for CAT. Do attend those. All right. I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.